Welcome back. I'm Joe Kelly, and this is the Grindstone Circle. We got some amazing topics for you today, but before we get into the good stuff, I want you to like, comment, and subscribe. This podcast is about real men, real lessons, and real talk.
That's one of the issues with this, like the live streaming too. Like, you know what I'm saying? Everything is happening in real time, and no one gets the opportunity to like calm down from a situation. Instead, they just get more hyped up and amped up. You know what I mean? It's like, it's you know what I'm saying? It's like, dang, like everybody in the world done seen it now. What you gonna do? And that, like you said, that ego kind of hopped in, and I get it. Like when he, yeah, I get that. Like
It's no different than what happens in the streets, though. There's plenty of people before and now and probably in the future that's doing 20, 30 years life because somebody's like, oh, people in the streets think you soft. People think you you're gonna let such and such, blah, blah, blah. You on a mute trail if you're talking. But especially in the black community, man, that's the one thing black folks, black men especially hate to be, oh, you soft, oh, you blah, blah, blah. But in instances where you can walk away, where you can run away, that should be your first option. That should be your first option. A lot of those people that are dealing with those results would say the same thing. Like his MMA career, which he wants to do, is probably
It's done.
Like he before he even got started, he ain't gonna be able to do nothing, and that was the result of his pride, his pride, and that ego, man, that ego monster. So,
well, I don't know, with the MMA and UFC and all that stuff, they turn the other cheek on a lot of stuff. So.
They usually do. But also, too, he's also not in a space where like he's established himself. Like his father is an MMA legend. But before I said something about Roger Jackson from a professional fighting perspective, you didn't know his name. And a lot of other people didn't know his name either. So he's still learning and coming up and stuff like that. And I think that control comes like as you begin to master those things, right? Like fully understanding like the implications behind it and stuff like that, too. So. But also how you raise factors into it a lot too. And if you've watched or if you see any of the live stream because him and his dad do a lot of like live stream and stuff like that as well too, that people may find acceptable, may not find acceptable as far as like how he goes about interacting with his son and things like that. So.
Interesting. That is interesting.
Controlling your emotions. I mean, when you think about it, was it worth? Because I did see the video, right? So I saw the video where excessively he was punching him, even in a street fight, right? When you think about a street fight, we all been in fights before. Do you continually to keep beating a person down when you know they can't even move? Like that right there. I mean, at the end of the day, it's all different types of fighters. But what he was trying to do was prove a point to the world, right? But you proved the point when you slammed him, he was unconscious. And then you hit him. But if you hit him 20, 40, I don't know how many times you hit him, but you hit him more than 10 times.
It was a lot.
So that's a lot of punches, bro.
Yeah, no, I agree. Extremely excessive. But to that street fight point thing too, just like I was saying, there's plenty of people doing there's plenty of people in the ground too from being like honorable in that space. And what I teach Moses and what I have been taught and what I think is most important is if you find yourself in a space like that, you neutralize the threat. I don't mean beat them to death, but you make sure that they're in a state that they're not able to get up and reach inside of their pants or go to a car and grab something to shoot you, which is why I always say first option should be to move in the other direction. But if you find yourself in a space where you're not able to move in the other direction, you make sure the threat is neutralized to a point to where you can get home safely. So if that means breaking an arm, breaking a leg, choking them until they're unconscious, something like that, then we do that. But once they're unconscious and the threat's neutralized, you don't continue to beat on that person.
That's the issue.
You're going to put hands on them, make sure you put them to sleep. So.
Yeah, I understand that. But, I mean, that's excessive, man. I agree. Because at the end of the day, I mean, the guy could have been dead. And once he's gone, you're not coming back out. Like, you got a chance now of maybe, I don't know if he's going to, go to jail, serve some time and all that stuff there, but I mean, once you kill someone, it's 20 years of life easy. It's gonna happen.
Hey, yo, y'all think? Let me ask this question because I did see another video that I seen where one young man was yelling on his one kid, and he's yelling on him, and the one kid is looking up and just looking at him, controlling his emotions, and then once the one kid that was extra swung on him, then that's when the more
And it
calmer
went
young
back
man
crazy.
came back at him, right? But do you think that with the way, and I think that, well, and here's what I think. I think that with the way that the world is now, where everything's so instantaneous, right? It's like, and it's the instant gratification type of deal that everyone gets with the way that the internet and social media and things of that is concerned. Like, say for instance, if someone don't like this video, they can be like, I don't like this video. Like, you know what I'm
Yep.
saying? Like, real quick, not thinking like, you know what I'm saying? Like, or they could be real quick, I like this video. Or if you say something wrong, you may put out a clip, like one of the hot takes or a clip, Joe, and they'll be real quick like this. They'll be real quick to say whatever they say before they even view the whole the whole episode or the whole thing, or get the context
Mhm.
of what we're talking about, right? People aren't thinking like that anymore, right? So like, my question to y'all are like, and Jojo, you already answered it, but my question to y'all are, what are you guys doing to make sure that we're teaching our sons and the young men that we have around us, like, how to control their emotions, um, so that you can think like how Jojo said, like, yo, like, I'm gonna, okay, well, I can't move this way, I can't move that way, but I can neutralize the situation so I can move forward and get home safely, right? But that takes thinking and emotional intelligence, right? What are you guys doing? What are some tips that you may have for some of these young men out here?
No, that's interesting. I think you got to put this is what I do with my boys, right? I put them in controlled chaos, right? And it's one of those things where, like, I purposely put them in situations with me or maybe with the older boys where I piss them off. Like, I piss you off to a point to where you're emotionally engaged and enraged, and I make you control yourself, right? What are you gonna do when someone is constantly pushing your buttons, constantly trying to get you over the edge? Like, how are you gonna control yourself, right? Now, it's hard to do that with other kids, right? This is why we put them in sports. This is why you make them play football, basketball, baseball, all that, because they're putting in these controlled environments where you're gonna get bullied on the football field if you're the weak link, right? If they
Hmm.
put you out there, I'm gonna expose you. I'm gonna go to the left side every single time because you're not gonna stop me, right? Like, what are you gonna do in that situation? Um, that's what I would do, and just continue to coach them through that and through those emotions, making sure that they understand it. But that's really the best, in my opinion. The best option you have is like putting them in controlled chaos and see how they fare. And if they fail, you coach them. Hey, this is what you don't do. This is what you don't do. And then you put them in that situation again, and then you coach them again, and you put them back in that situation again until they figure out and master how to control those emotions. And then you change the level of it, right? So, at 6 is this, at 14 is that, at 21 it's something even bigger. So that's how I would recommend doing it, that way, where you just put them in control chaos so you can understand and navigate the emotional control that they need to have.
Roger that. Trey, what about you, man?
I mean, I think in the perspective of, I got kids 5 and 8. So mine's a little bit different in terms of, especially these things here may happen at school, right? So the first thing I want you to do is go tell. That's the first thing. I need you to find an adult that's around that situation and let them know, what's going on. And, actually had a case here on Friday that I picked Alan up from after school. And the after school director, came, pulled me in. So I'm thinking, oh Lord, what done happened? And he comes to me, he say, well, your son said that another kid called him.
Mm.
And I want to let you know the kid just left with the parent. And he came right over to me and let me know that. I'm gonna let my leadership know, blah, 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 blah. So I had a small discussion. I'll continue that tomorrow morning when I drop him off. But I applaud my son because he's 8 years old of just going right to an adult saying this is what happened. But after that, then come tell me. So I think for that age group, find an adult first, right? Let that adult know and then also find the person that's your guardian or that's your safe space and let them know. Because at the end of the day, I mean, he's 8 now and he doesn't really know. He don't even know what the word means. So I'm trying to figure out like how did he even hear it, right? For one, and then so that it had to continuously keep happening throughout that time. But this is the first time that it's actually like caught up to where now he's realizing, okay, this word is not right. So I'm gonna let an adult know. And so now I'm to the point now where I'm glad that he reached out. And I'm off topic now because now I'm getting to the point of my brain is shifting to the conversation I'm about to have in the morning, you know, with leadership, right? So, you know, I'm just kind of thankful that he was able to recognize a situation that could have went bad, didn't respond to it, but went and told an adult, and then let dad handle it, you know, from there. Let me take it from there. So my bad, I'm already off track. So go ahead.
No, man, no, you good. Listen, man. Hey, just for the people, tell them, Joe, for the people that know, man, we real time friends, so we start talking and we'll start venting. We'll start venting and start talking about what we would talk about when we just around each other and stuff. So no, that's good, bro.
But I think that's interesting. Like to add to that, like at what point? Because I got a philosophy. At what point at what point do you allow your son to take action?
I think it's a good question, right? So the word, right? I don't feel like that's enough for you to be physical. For me, right? So that's a word, right? That's still something daddy can handle in terms of having a conversation. Now, if the director came in and say, you know, this kid here punched Allen in the face, I would expect for Allen to beat him down, like JoJo said, right? Neutralize the situation until someone is here to help that person. At 8 years old, I'm okay with you hitting back. If somebody hits you, it's on. It's on and pop. But for words, I don't feel like that's a way right now. And I don't feel like, period, for you to have physical harm to someone else because of words, right? We can figure out another way.
I agree with that. And growing up in where I grew up and being a part of my family in Leesburg, Sanford, other places like that too. And Trell, I'm sure you're familiar with this, coming from you, Matilla, and stuff like that. But
you tiggity,
baby, 352. But family is more disrespectful and cracks on you more than the people in the world in the street. So what I would say in those instances too, right? So it is good that they told, but I would also encourage my son or my daughter, whoever it is, have some zingers to come back. Like if we're fighting with words, then use the tools that are appropriate for the situation you're in, but something in a rebuttal form, you know what I mean? And then if it goes further than, and that's if the child wasn't necessarily taking it to the teacher, right? And they're like, oh, I don't want to tell the teacher, or I don't want to, then you give them the tools and the resources that they need to conduct warfare in that space. Whatever, let's go to lunch, feel me? But as soon as you put your hands on me, I'm gonna show you what these hands do, you feel me? So, but I totally agree with you though, Trell. I'm having a conversation, I'm pulling up, and I want to talk to the mama and the daddy of the little boy or girl calling my son to see what they got to say about it. You know what I mean? So, like you said, daddy, parents handle that situation, but I do commend Allen for seeking out the resources, the appropriate resources, because that's a big thing that I focus on teaching my kids too. Like, this person's smart, this person's dumb, all this other stuff. As I get older, I just recognize that smart people are individuals that are, one, self-aware, and they're aware of their resources, like what you have available at your disposal in those instant moments, right, in order to get you to where you need to be. So the fact that he reached out to the appropriate resources and exercised the right channels is good. And then I would also look to give them tools so that, you know, if this is something that it triggers you emotionally. So in this case, Allen didn't necessarily know what the word was. But Moses, right, Mora, my kids, they know it. You know what I mean? So, but there's certain ways that I use. So they're very familiar with what it means in the context of when it is appropriate. And when I mean appropriate, I mean like a term of endearment or something like that, as opposed to a racial slur based on preconceived notions that a person has. Like they're able to contextualize that. So if they felt an emotional response in that space, speaking of the control, right? Okay, you're triggered emotionally. Make sure you respond appropriately, right? So this doesn't warrant a physical response. It warrants a verbal response, right? So definitely agree with you, Trell. But just to like add on to that, I would look to give him that too. If he made that decision, you know, in that moment that, you know, I want to handle this myself, right? But I don't want to put my hands on them. So,
but wouldn't that be isn't that a double standard in our culture though? Like yeah, like think about it. Like it was a word that was used to be derogatory, right? And we have this notion of like we took the word, we took it, we flipped it. Now it's a term of endearment when we're talking to each other, right? And it's one of those things where like in this day and age, at what point do we no longer use that as a term of endearment? Like to an extent of it's a derogatory word, right? Like at some point we can't continue to say, well, it's no longer derogatory if we say it, but it's derogatory if somebody else says it. You know what I'm saying? Like even if because there's so much money being made off of the word. There's so many artists continuously promoting the word. Like you have all of this stuff going on and you have all these racial divides over this word, but yet one can use it more freely than the other, so on and so forth. But why not we just get rid of the word altogether and come up with something else that we can use as a term of endearment so we don't have these conflicts?
I think this next generation is going to be the ones that is going to change it, right? Because really and truly, so where I'm teaching and coaching at, man, and I find myself checking kids like because it's almost like like a lot of the kids, and like I'm talking no matter what color, are using the word, right?
Everybody
Like they're
said
using everybody say it. So everybody say it, but then like and then when I come in, I'm coming in and then I'll educate the young people about, do you know what that word means? Because if I hear that word, I don't like it. And then you know what I'm saying? And here's what kind of stuff happened when I was called that when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, yeah, we did take it, flip it, make it a term of endearment. But this next generation, we're the last I think we're almost. It feels like our generation is almost like the last generation where it has a negative connotation to it. Almost, I feel like. And hopefully it takes the word out of, like, you know what I'm saying? It's a word that's not used anymore. Like, it's just gonna be one of those fad words, especially with this next generation. Everything is quick. It's a fad. It's gone. But I, just like when Trell he has that conversation, he got to have the conversation with the administration of the school or the leadership, but he also got to have a conversation with the parents. It comes from the household. So how are we educating, our children on what that word means, when it's used here, how it's used there, and so on and so forth. Clearly, and then when we get to Trail, you dealing with 8-year-olds, so you really don't know who, like as far as the kids are concerned, what that young man was trying to say, right? Like, you know what I mean? He could have just heard it. He may not heard it from his parents. But then there's that chance that he did hear it from his parents, and his parents was using it, talking about, talking bad, talking negative, talking bad, using it as a racial stereotype type deal. So there's conversations to be had. I hope that this, our generation needs to be able to talk about what that word means, what it means to people, how it can hurt people, just like any other word. Not to dumb the word down, but it needs to be talked about. Like, y'all know what this word means? All right, stop it. Right? Like, stop. Like, let's get rid of the word. Or the next generation is gonna have to step up and try to push it out as a fad. You know what I mean? But I hear it all the time, and I'm teaching at a school that there's not a lot of brown, black, and brown and black kids. You know what I'm saying? So for me to be hearing it, I'm like, why am I hearing this word? Like why why am I hearing this word so much? And they get questioning, and then but instead of me questioning parents, I just educate myself and just let people know what it is. You know what I mean?
It's cultural appropriation too, though. So you talk about like the next generation, right? The next generation is the ones that's gonna have to get rid of it. How's that gonna be the case when you got white, Asian, or the Chinese? Everybody, like you said, everybody's. And with that other thing too, content without context is dangerous, right? So you say they could have heard it from anywhere, but I don't think that Allen, right? I don't think it would have triggered Allen to reach out to leadership or somebody in an authoritative position if the child that was using the word was saying it as, hey, come on, You know what I'm
Facts.
saying? Oh,
Big
blah, blah,
facts.
blah, blah. He went and reached out to somebody because the manner in which that word was said to him made him feel uncomfortable, or maybe he
Right.
felt the person was being aggressive, which is why he sought out help. You know what I mean?
And
So
this,
in those spaces, and that's the other thing too, right? So, and I think that gives a lot of like information. You're looking at context clues, right? If he got it from Lil Wayne or Playboy Cardi or something, like the manner in which it was leveraged and used would have fit that dynamic. But because it was not used or leveraged in that way, what that would lead me to infer is that the manner in which he was using it,
facts.
right, it would have been associated with how he heard it, right? That's the context. Hence the conversation that Trell wants to have with the parents and leadership.
Yeah, no, for sure.
The next generation getting out, or the next generation getting rid of it. We got to keep in mind it's still white folks like Jerry Jones that still exist. You know, my grandparents, and I'm sure some of y'all grandparents weren't far away from slavery. Like I come from sharecroppers. My grandfather, grandmother, they picked oranges, watermelon, stuff like that, and orange groves, you know what I mean, for pennies on the dollar compared to the labor that they had. And we're not that far removed from that. You know what I mean? So I'm talking about the next generation, but it's also what this generation is being fed, which is why I can't completely like, you know, oh, just don't worry about it. You know, we don't use that word. Those aren't good words, because the world that we're in, there's so much hate for black folks, bro. You know what I'm saying? Everybody hates, bro. Everybody. So the things that they try, what the Bible say, what the enemy means for evil, I'm gonna use for good. So it's like, I don't see it going nowhere. And I'm gonna show them how we use it here and how it's acceptable, and in spaces when it's not acceptable, and how we handle and address that. Because as much as I want that not to be a part of the world that they're gonna grow up in, it is.
Yeah, no,
It
you're right.
is.
Right. And Trell, shout out to you too. And JoJo said something in there where like Alan heard, he knew the difference of, yo, what up, my, or you're like, he knew for him to know the difference.
But
That's a big deal too. And
but
that
you see,
again, that also puts us in a spot of like being self-aware of our surroundings too. You know what I mean? So
but
he
you know
can
what
defend himself.
the scary part about it is, I know he's heard. Well, I've had the conversation with him. He's heard that before, and I didn't know. In terms of other kids saying, because think about it now, my kid go to a school where nobody looks like him, right? You might have somebody that's mixed, you know, or whatnot, but he the only person in the class or only person in the whole grade that looks like him. So that's why for me, I mean, when I heard that and I had that conversation, I mean, you could tell the director, he was like shooken. He thought I was going to pop off, and it was like, okay, well, you know, I'll address the situation and I'll get back with you, you know, on Monday. But because I had to, in my mind, think about it. In my mind, I'm like, wait, what? You know, because I already feel a certain way already, right? So, but I didn't want to, you know, have that conversation then. But back to your point, he's heard that before, but he hasn't heard it from me. You see, like he hasn't heard it from me. So, and I've had that conversation with him. He's heard that before from other students. So that right there is kind of like, whoa, that's taking me back a little bit. So this is like a conversation I'm really having, you know, if that makes sense.
No, that makes perfect sense, man. It's it's a scary world, man, that our kids are in these days. You know what I'm saying? So much hate, so much it's just like you say, JoJo, too, like you know, having the hate for black people too. But there is, regardless of it, there's so much hate regardless. There's so much separation regardless. And you never know, and we don't know what our kids are hearing and seeing and nothing. There's so many things and people that are coming across because of the world we live in now. It's almost so hard to control the things that are said to them and the information that they're being fed. It's
But you think about as a man, when your kids are going through those things, they're looking for you to react, because a lot of people will react totally different than where I reacted last Friday.
I was just gonna go there. Yep.
Yeah. The growth that we have as men, the way we react. I'm telling you, my son's standing right there. I mean, I could have just flipped out, and then that could have been ingrained in his mind of, as soon as something happens, the way it makes him feel uneasy. My dad, the way he act like this, so he may act like this, right?
So
And
let
then,
me ask that. Did you have
chime in
that
on that.
question?
Let me chime in on that real quick though,
Yeah, go
because
ahead.
that's a huge point, Trell. That's a huge point, and I teach that to my kids in this house too. And I know that we've all heard this too. The loudest one in the room is the weakest one in the room. True power is effortless, right? The power of the pen is stronger than the power. The mighty of the might of the pen is whatever than the sword type stuff, whatever. But the response that you got too, and this kind of contextualizes back to what we were talking about before too, with sometimes being quiet. Everything doesn't warrant an immediate response. And I guarantee the response that Trell gave those people, first up being a black man, one of the only black children in the school, and your response didn't fall in line with what they initially thought. Bro, I know everybody was in a tizzy all weekend, bro. There was emails flying back and forth and things like that. But what he created in that space was presence and true power. And now when he comes to speak truth to power on Monday, it's going to be that much more impactful given the amount of time that it's been allowed to marinate and all these things that these people are thinking about, because he's not a reactionary individual. He's responding to the situation as opposed to immediately reacting to it. And Allen will associate that with power based on the results that he gets in the following week as a result of how people in that school begin to move around him as a result of how his father moved. That's true power. I'm sorry. I just had to jump in and contextualize that because I teach my kids that all the time. Like, it's not about and all that other stuff. Like, be quiet, right? And put all that energy and that effort into actually moving something that's actually going to do something, man. So commend you on that, Trell. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to jump in, but I had that.
No,
that was
question. I got a quick question though, Trell. So, and this is for, and I'm asking this question because this kind of goes back to the question I asked in the beginning. So you get the phone call, right? What's your process of thinking so that you can be present in that moment when you're in front of the administration? You be like, I'm gonna talk to y'all on Monday about it. I'm gonna handle this like this, so you can have that presence of mind. So what was your process? Phone call to when you're in front of Allen, the teacher in the school. Talk about it.
No, so it wasn't a phone call. I went pick them up on a Friday, afternoon, pick them up for the day, and the director comes in and say, Mr. Russell, I need to speak with you. So it happened right then.
Oh,
right.
Okay.
But yeah, so it happened right then. But in my mind, I'm just processing the entire thing because I can tell they're shook, they're shaking up. I'm going to make sure we reach out to, their upper leadership, all this stuff here. We're going to make sure, that the kid just left. We spoke to the parent and all that stuff. And in my mind, I'm just like, okay, let me just sit back for a moment. Let me hear them out. They're shaking up, so I didn't have any time to think, right? But I'm just listening. I'm listening. And there's more power in that listening. You're right, Jojo. There's power in the listening because they don't know what to think right now. They don't know what my response is going to be tomorrow. They're going to get a response, but they're going to get a response.
I appreciate that feedback too, but I think in my opinion, like, I see so many clips and videos of people, black people that are giving this word so much power. Don't get me wrong, right? Using it in an incorrect context can be triggering, right? It can put you in a situation of like, I see rage, I see red, it's up, right? But I think if we have more people with emotional control to understand, like, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me type deal, it's like, give so much power in the way that, Trell, you handled yourself in that situation. Like you said, your kid is watching you, right? Daddy didn't get his word any power. I'm gonna talk to y'all on Monday, right? If you look at what happened in Cincinnati, if you're looking at, what happened, on high school campuses where people are using the N-word left and right and kids are getting enraged and getting emotional, like, what if we just taught them just to control your emotions? I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying to let anybody talk to you any kind of way, but if you control your emotions and understand that, listen, man, this is a word. Right context or wrong context, it's still a word. And last time I checked, like, it don't do anything to me physically. So I'm not gonna allow it to emotionally wreck my life or put me in a situation where I would have been like, damn, I should have thought through that. So I like the fact that you did that, because I had a similar situation, not where people are using slurs or anything like that in front of my kids. Didn't go as peaceful as as your situation was. It was a little different. But the fact that my son saw me, he was like, Dad, I've never seen you like that before. It's like, yeah, son, sometimes you got to get a little, you got to get a little beside yourself to let people understand, like, no, this is not okay, this is not correct type deal. But I just feel like we give the word too much power, and we need to understand and do a better job of teaching our sons, especially our sons, like, yo, control your emotions. Like, I know you're pissed off that he called you this, man, let it go. Go, do the proper steps, right? Go tell somebody, get daddy involved, get mommy involved, and we'll go from there. But don't let these words like negatively impact you, because that can ruin your future, right? Like that can put you in a different trajectory, that can put you on a different path if we were just more stoic and control your emotions when it came to words. You know what I'm saying? So that's my little 2 cents on it, on the matter. But
I got a question. So because in this instance we're talking about children seeking out people in authority to get things right. Let's flip it, Joe and Trail and Earl, or let's say a parent call you, or Trail, you in a meeting call or something, like, hey, you know what? You're part of a group chat and something come across, you get a message you're not supposed to get. It's just like, oh man, barbecue chicken every time Trail walks in, or can't stand that black ass joke. If you hear something professionally in your space, right? So you're talking about seeking out like authority, right? But in those spaces, I'm sure, right, you're going to reach out to HR, you're going to exercise the appropriate channels. But as a man, right, because you're saying like we give a lot of power to the word, but there is some power in it. And as men, right, it's a part of our job to address certain things. So no, I don't think we should get life in prison behind it. But at a certain point too, I don't think that it's water on the duck's back. Like there's a tactful way to go about like telling somebody to go themselves. You know what I mean? And I think that there's a space where that's appropriate too. Like, yes, sometimes we let things go, but there's a way to go about letting people know that you're not to be messed with, and it not becoming physical as well too. So at what point do we begin to give like that type of guidance to the children? Is that like a 14 to 16 thing? Is that a 21 thing? Like where do you guys think it's appropriate to begin to have those types of conversations? Because Joey and Alan and Aiden, they will be men at some point, and it will be incumbent upon them to address certain things as they happen in real time. So where does that lesson get taught, and how do you go about like implementing that, right?
Dang, that's a good one. So
Jojo,
my
golly, bro, God, man.
Bro, don't do me like that. Don't do me like that.
You laying it on, right?
God.
I think that's a great question. That's an amazing question. And my quick answers to that is, one, you never let anyone disrespect you. Point blank, period, right? Professionally, right? If there's things that are said, you got to address it. You can't just let it roll off your back. You have to address it. You don't have to get physical, but you do got to make known, like, hey, we're not going to tolerate this, and I'm not going to stand for it. That's number one on the professional side, right? And then, as you know, in business, as you continue to grow, you never know who you're going to meet at the top, right? So you got to be careful how people go about business. So again, that's one of those, that's a long game scenario, but make sure that you put the emphasis on, you're not going to disrespect me, and I'm going to make sure I stand up for myself professionally in that space to make sure, like, you understand I'm not the one you need to play with. That's number one. Number two to that question is, I think you should teach your kids that as soon as possible. Teach them as soon as possible how to address peers and adults, right? Because there was a scenario with my two youngest boys where I told, again, as a millennial, we parent totally different than our parents and our grandparents, right? Back in the day, as you know, it's do as I say, not as I do. Don't talk back to grown folks. Stay in a child's place.
Don't you preach
it, right? That's how we were raised, right?
Yep.
My house, you're gonna stay in a child's place, but I'm gonna give you the bandwidth and the runway to be a human, which means if I call my son out of his name to build up his confidence, and he come to me and say, "Hey, Daddy, you get my feelings when you call me juicy," like, I don't like it. Like, I don't appreciate you calling me juicy. Could you stop? I want him to do that, right? In order for you to have strong, vocal children of tomorrow, you have to give them the space and the environment for them to push back and find their voice. And what other place are they going to do that other than in your home with daddy, with mommy, with Nana, where or with their older siblings, where they come in and they say, no, Jackson at the age of 5, 4, he was saying, no, I don't like this, right? Hugs for daddy, kisses for mommy. I don't like this. It's like, hey, respect, young grasshopper. Like, speak up for yourself, you know? And that's where I think we should never hold back on that. Give them the tools as soon as they can understand what those tools are, so they can start practicing that. Because Jackson right now can tell you straight up, I don't like this. I don't want to do that. Call my daddy. He does not care. Joey's the same way. I don't like this. I watching this particular cartoon. I want to do anime. I want to draw. I want to do, mechanics. And there's nothing you can tell him that's going to change his mind, because we gave him the arena and the space to be able to be confident in his decision making and making those choices and standing up for himself. So that's my take on it.
Trail, for you, man. Like, all y'all got caught at work. So Joe told me how he gonna handle his. What you doing about yours, Trail?
No, not much different than what Joe said, man. I mean, at the end of the day, I think for me too, I don't care about the space or who I may meet at the top and all that. At the end of the day, if I feel disrespected, I'm going to address it, and I'm going to address it then. I'm not going to wait till tomorrow. I'm not going to sit there and think, because I feel like I'm a lot more mature to have the conversation. I'm not just going to lash out. I'm not going to do that, but I want to address it then. I don't want to wait 3 days from now or 24 hours. And that. No. If I feel disrespected at the moment, I'm going to professionally speak to you on that, and then take the proper steps on how deep it went, right? And that's sort of space. So professionally, I'm gonna make sure I address it then. But I think for the kids, I agree with Joe. I give my kids the opportunity to not talk back, but challenge, right? So if you feel a certain way, let me know. Because at the end of the day, I'm gonna make the decision regardless, but I want them to feel okay with saying, okay, Dad, I don't agree with what you're saying. Even for instance, even when it comes to football and sports. I mean, sorry, Earl, but I'm that guy where I tell my sons this now, and I tell Alan, he does it. If you don't like, if a coach is saying that you're doing something wrong and you're not, I want you to say, no, coach, you need to watch the film. I'm not doing it incorrectly. I'm okay with that. That is okay with challenging authority. Now, don't be disrespectful about it, right? But at the end of the day, I'm okay with you saying that. And if they have a problem with it, come to me, because that's what I'm teaching my boys at the end of the day, right? So, I mean, I think that starts now. I think it starts. I mean, it starts at 8. It starts at 5. Even with Corey. See, Corey is the type of person I don't even have to tell him. He's gonna do it regardless, because he a little firecracker, man. Y'all know that over there. He's something else, man. Alan, I gotta push him a little bit more to be that. But I mean, I agree with Joe. I agree with what you're saying.
First of all, Trill, I'm gonna tell you like this: if any of my young players come to me and say, "I watch film," I'm like, "Oh, let's go! I'm excited." What? Hold on, yes, show me the film and let's watch it together. Ooh, that got me hyped up. You got your son? Yes. Okay. Let me not say something before I lose my job. Okay. But no. As far as I've well, first off, my sons they get to see me in a way of I'm a coach, right? So they're at games where I'm coaching and I'm being talked about. They're at game, they're sitting in the crowd and they hear, because they may hear something that somebody says about me, and they know when I hear it. I also allow my kids to see my reaction after I'm out of the public, like out of the eye of the public, or whatever faction that I'm in, right? So they also get to, they got to get in that car ride home where I stop, and then I'll I'll let out my emotions, and then they get to ask me questions. Well, why didn't you? Oh, well, I would have did this. Well, if I did this at that moment, I would have embarrassed my team, my city, my family, you know what I mean, myself. And it probably would have got a little crazy. because you know, it probably would have got a little crazy, and I'm still, I still could go to jail, right? Um, I get there's a lot at there's more at just there's more at risk for when I don't control my emotions and I allow myself to come outside of myself, if you will, right? So they get to see it all when they're around me. So, and because to be honest, I don't know if I'd be able to just really voice it to them without. I'm one of those like you gonna see it, right? Like I'd rather you see and then we talk from there. Um, my kids have been in situations where uh, you know, my children are biracial, right? So they've been in situations where people realize like, oh, because one of my sons, my oldest son, for a long time, he could pass, right? And then but my younger son, not so much. But my oldest son he could pass. But then when someone find out, and then they got choice words for him. Again, it's how do you control your emotions, or how long are you gonna control your emotions? When do you have to stop it, right? When do you having that conversation of like, well, no, okay. You ain't gonna be don't be the one to swing first. Don't be the one to say something first. Let them go ahead and say something. Let's sit back and listen, right? Then adjust fire, right? And then adjust fire and then but again, like we went back to before, put yourself in a position where you're not hurting somebody too bad or you don't embarrass somebody too bad, because at the end of the day, that's still a person and they don't understand. They may not even understand how much they hurting you in that moment. You know what I mean? Or they
Yeah.
putting out their own they putting out their own traumas and pain on you. It ain't got nothing to do with you. But if you sit back and listen and stay calm for a minute and review the situation, you'll see that. But a lot of different things I could go off on this topic, and because for me, I'm in the school system, so like I deal with the kids all the time, and I have to tell these, and I have the more troubled kids, so I have to tell them how to, I have to, I don't write infractions. My job isn't like that. They want me to write the referrals and infractions. I'm not going to. Why? When I could neutralize the situation, take this young man or this young lady over here and be like, hey, let's talk for a minute before you make a bad decision, right?
Mhm.
Instead of letting that decision uh, escalate, right? Or I can help them not make any more bad decisions after they come see me. So, you know, I think I said a lot I said a lot. I didn't say a lot, but yeah, yeah.
No, I think
But
that's good. I think we should keep on this like emotional control conversation, because I think it gets even deeper for me, and I think for y'all as well, right? Like now that I'm
mhm,
thinking about it, like I have to have so much emotional control, not only because I'm a man, right, and I'm a father, I'm a husband, but my whole job is to protect my family. So as a registered firearm holder, right, like I keep it with me. I keep it on me at all times, right? And you never know, like you might be one bad interaction away from having to use a certain level of force to not only protect yourself and your family. Like you don't know the mental state that somebody might be in. So teaching yourself and your kids having emotional control could literally mean it could be seconds away from you going home, being with your family, or you going in a different direction that's changing the whole trajectory of your family. Like, so it's really important, because again, I know the young cats are out there and they're listening to this, but like, you know, the music is glorifying, Glocks and Glizzies and Poles and Dracos, and it's like, it's fun and it's a game, and it's just, this is the way of life. But like, there is no coming back from death. there is no coming back from that. So will you allow an emotional reaction to put you in a situation where, one, you're either not here, or two, you're not here because you're in jail, you know what I'm saying, or you can't take care of your kids, you can't be there for your wife, you know what I'm saying? Like, just that is very important, because in the state of Florida, as you all may know, everybody got guns. Right? everybody is toting, right? Grandma is toting, grandpa is toting, the young boys are toting, everybody's toting, right? So for you to jump bad, what you gonna do when you go? It's like, hold on, is it really that important? That's where I think we got to really hone in on this emotional control, especially for young boys, because we lash out. Men lash out aggressively, right? Women typically lash out verbally. Men lash out physically. Meaning, if I can't get my point across, if you're not understanding what I'm saying, I'm going to physically make you understand, right? I'm going to physically subdue you so you know where I'm coming from, right? Iron sharpens iron. So when you got another man who's refusing to back down and you're also refusing to back down, well, somebody got to go. Right?
Yeah.
So somebody's going to win, somebody's going to lose. The question, do you even want to put yourself in that situation over pride? And again, there's always ways. Professionally, you don't have to worry about that. Professionally, there's always ways to address it in a manner that doesn't get to that. But outside of that professional world, what'd you say, JoJo? The difference between a sane person and a crazy person is like one bad interaction. Like, it's one bad exchange from going from I was perfectly fine today to you're looking at 25 years. Every decision is important. So yeah, I can't harper on that enough about emotional control, which again can kind of lead into the next topic of like domestic violence, right? Like how many people, instances, or scenarios, especially for men, even women, like you made one bad decision because she pissed you off, right? or you made one bad decision because he decided to go in a different direction on who he wanted to be with, like, and now your whole world is upside down. Like it just can't happen, but it's happening every day. It's happening every day. So what are y'all thoughts on that? Right, we're gonna transition into like the domestic violence conversation. Like, what are your stance on it? Do you believe there's a necessary double standard? I know Ryan Clark mentioned it on the Pivot not too long ago about like, hey, there should be a double standard as it pertains to domestic violence, and as it pertains to like the Sha'Carri Richardson scenario where she was pushing and shoving and hitting up on her boyfriend in the airport and she got arrested for it, right? If the roles were reversed, would have been a slap on the wrist, or would he have lost endorsements and went to jail, and career would have went down the tank? Like, what are your takes on it? Give me some feedback as it pertains to domestic violence in 2025.
Go ahead, JoJo.
No, I think we need to start having JoJo go first because it goes JoJo.
Did you know? Hold on. Did you notice
behind words?
Did you notice he like this at first?
I need to start reading books more because y'all are
I saw
killing me, man.
Y'all are killing me. He was like this at first, and as soon as I said, "What do you think about domestic violence?"
Oh.
Here it comes. Okay, here we go. Let me get my dictionary. Where's my dictionary?
Go ahead, Professor.
I don't think nothing. They'd be like, that's a first. I'm gonna keep it short, man. Domestic violence is bad, man. You should be putting your hands on each other at all. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's equal this, equal that. So if we're doing the same things, the punishment should be equal, is how I see it. So you just don't put your hands on people. And I think that when you're in relationships, so some of the examples you gave before, Joe, like the person wants to leave and she can't handle it, or like that's a little bit different. But I think when you're in like arguments or disagreements with your spouse, like it's good, like we were saying before, you created a contract, you do all these foundational things. When Raquel and I first got together, we had a couple arguments and stuff like that. And we set boundary rules. Like there were certain things that like I hated, like, don't you ever hang up the phone on me. I don't care what I say, what we got going on. Don't you ever hang up the phone on me. You know what I'm saying?
Like I heard you say that.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, that's something you can't do. If you do that, we're going to have a problem. You know what I mean? Like that's not like, that's my whatever, pineapples. You know what I mean? And for her, it was, we cannot like go to bed basically without like having a conversation about like whatever it was, like not going to bed angry at each other type deal. So we set those boundaries like when everything was cool, like we weren't in the middle of an argument and nothing like that. It was just something that we implemented because we had issues with it before. And it's a rule that we've kept, and it's helped us to manage in that space. So I think it's very important to set like rules of engagement. If there's certain things that you know that trigger you and you fly off the handles, and she knows that there's certain things that trigger her and she ready to cut up your clothes and bleach your shoes, like you guys should talk about those things, bring them out into the open, and then set boundaries around those things. And then when the heat is on, remind each other, like in those moments, of the commitments and the rules that we've agreed to, even while things are hot, right? Because we're upset and hot in the moment, but the relationship is still something that we want. So just create those boundaries, and then when it's time to implement them, just stick to what you guys committed to.
No, I second that. Like I think you should definitely keep your hands to yourself, right? And I think,
yeah, for sure.
I think I'm speaking from a space of I'm speaking from a place of experience, right? I was raised in a house of all women, right? And I can't remember as a teenager. Now, when I was a little kid, I was bad, right? My older sisters had to put them paws on me because I was reckless, right? But as I became older and I put a little weight on, right? I got some muscles, and I was able to, I'm wrestling with men, I'm fighting with men. My sisters, they was like, wait a minute. I can't go up and just slap Joe because he said X, Y, and Z. Like I cannot, he is no longer little Joe anymore. Like this is a grown physical man, right? So they had to learn like the things we did when I was a kid, you can no longer do when I was a teenager, young adult, so on and so forth, right? But I think there's this misconception that like men don't have emotions, right? And men don't see red, and men don't have the ability men always have to have the ability to like control themselves. And I think that is true in most cases, but like to JoJo's point, like you're one bad interaction away from somebody losing their cool and losing their mind. And I think there's this notion or misconception that because you're a man, no matter what the circumstances is, you never put your hand on a woman, right? I agree with that. I'm not discounting that, but I'm saying is you don't know what right mind that person may be in that situation, right? And you're always, when it comes to a physical altercation, because men are superior when it comes to physical strength, right? A woman is typically going to always lose in that scenario, right? Because he's just physically stronger. So I always recommend like never put your hands on anybody, woman, man. Keep your hands to yourself because it doesn't help the scenario at all, especially if you're a woman, right? Like I will never, ever touch my wife. Like that is not okay. I will never do it. But to JoJo's point, we set boundaries as well, right? And I know what her boundaries are. I've never done it. I never will do it. But she was like, if we're ever in an argument, don't you ever call me out of my name. Absolutely. Will never happen. It's always either Elise or baby girl, right? It's baby girl when I'm happy. It's Elise when I'm upset.
Oh.
It's never outside of that, right? You know what I'm saying? But I understood that. And, for me, it was like you just can't do it, right? Like domestic violence is not a thing. Men have to do a better job of controlling their emotions. And I believe most men are pretty good at that, right? When they're getting hit and slapped and scratched and they're just like, man, get out of here, going on. And she's steady coming and she's steady throwing and hitting and all this other stuff. Men do a pretty decent job of getting out of that without using physical force. But there's a small percentage of men who are like, this was the last straw. Like hitting me in the head with that Pepsi can was the last thing that I'm going to be able to take. And, that physical, assertion comes out. But I think there is a double standard when it comes to domestic violence, right? If a man does it, it's, burn him down, crucify him. If it's flipped on the other side what did he do to make her get to that point? Right. And it is what it is. The double standards are going to be what it is. But I think under the context of law, there should be no double standard, right? Equal across the board. If, a baby girl slaps me in my face in front of a cop, the cop's going to take her to jail, right? If I hit baby girl in front of a cop, guess what? I'm going to jail, right? It should be very fair, consistent across the board about domestic violence, totally for both parties. But yeah, it's a sucky situation, but we got to do better and make sure that we protect these women and protect our families.
But not to generalize that too, Joe, because you said something and a lot of people be ingesting information. I don't know what the stats are. And for us to say something like, I think for the most part, men do a good job. And maybe another situation where that is also underrepresented. So for people that may be going through that, I don't want it to be like we're trying to downplay that. And maybe we should look at what the actual stats are right associated with that. So because it's definitely a problem, which is why we're talking about it like in this podcast. If it was so like non-existent, I don't think we'd be having those conversations. But you see Ray Rice, like there's a lot of like famous people where it gets a lot of publicity. So I could only imagine for the people that aren't famous, for the people that don't have a lens on them, how that could be going as well too. So
correct.
Disclaimer. Yeah.
No, I agree. And again, there's stats out there, and I think I saw it the other day, and I can't find it. There are stats out there about domestic violence towards men, domestic violence towards women, and if it serves me correct, I think it was like 40 or 60% of men experience domestic violence from a woman, and the stats were pretty the same. I think it was 60% women, 40% men receive domestic violence from their partners or something like that. But there are stats.
It's 41% of women and 26% of men report experiencing IPV, which is intimate partner violence, as contact sexual violence, physical violence, or stalking during their lifetime. So 41% for women, 26% for men. And actually, this is a dated stat because this shows that's according to the CDC in 2022. And they have some other ones too, but it almost a double for women compared to men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not sure your thoughts.
Oh, I mean, I have nothing to add on. I don't condone it. To answer the question, I do not condone it at all. And I like what Joe said in terms of, well, both of you guys are saying, but you are very direct in terms of, I would not put my hands on my wife. No, I like that because that's the truth. That's the truth.
Yeah.
I mean, I almost take it as in, if we ever got to a point to where it came to that, I would run out as fast as I can. Right, I'm running away from the situation, because for one, I'm not trying to get my wife sent to jail, because at the end of the day, whoever hits who, it doesn't matter if you press charges or not, you're going to jail.
Yeah, for sure.
That just doesn't matter, So just to answer the question, no, I do not condone it at all. And if you are going through that situation, do the best you can to seek help, for one, and then for two, if you can get away from the situation, run as fast as you can away from it. So,
it's funny you say that too, because when me and baby girl first started dating, right? Like I said, I a house full of women, right? I was raised in a house full of women. Whenever I would get to a point where I would get so upset, that's what I would do. I would just leave. I would just walk away. And we were dating, and she can attest to this. When we were dating, she used to hate it because she's the type of person. She's like, if we have a disagreement or argument, we need to sit down. We need to talk it through. We need to get to a resolve. But I wasn't at a point where I was ready to even have the conversation because I was so upset, right? And it was like, I don't want to do anything or say anything that I can't take back, right? So before I get to that point, I'm just gonna leave and take myself out of the situation, right? And I remember there was one point, I never forget it. We were at the park. My nephews were playing football. And me and her got into a big little argument or whatever in front of my mom and my sisters. And I just got up and left. And I literally walked around the park for like an hour by myself. And she's like, where did you go? What did you do? So on and so forth. And apparently my mom and my sisters told her, like, listen, you got to give him time to let him process his thoughts, right? And then when he come around, he'll speak. But like, they even understood that about me. Like, because again, I wasn't a physical person towards my mom, my sisters, anybody. It's like, if I feel like I'm getting to a point, I'm getting upset, I would just leave and take myself out of that situation. But she used to hate that until she understood why I was doing it. And then my growth track was, from her perspective, she was like, listen, I gotta come to a resolve. I gotta finalize what we're talking through. And throughout our relationship and my marriage, I got really good at, okay, if we're going to have a disagreement about something, I can't just leave. Okay, let's talk this through, babe. Okay, I hear your points. That makes sense. Here's why I'm upset. And then we come to the middle and we come up with a resolution. But like, I had to do some growing as well, because that wasn't the right solution either. Like, just leaving the conversation and leaving her wasn't the right thing to do. it was the best thing to do without, with me not having the emotional intelligence to be able to have the conversation. But now that I'm older and I've been through a lot of the reps, now I can talk through those things and not have to walk away and remove myself from the situation.
As fathers too, man, have we thinking about the impact that physical interaction has on the children? And I don't know if you guys ever experienced that, right? But I had some dealings with that, and people are different now, and I'm thankful for that. But the trauma that a child feels, especially a man child, right? When you look at your mother in a vulnerable position like that, and you're not able to do anything, you're powerless in that situation. And the effect that has like on that child, or the effect that has on that household, can't be understated as well too. So for the young men out there, in those situations with families and things about that too, just being thorough, man. Like everything that we do has downstream impacts and implications, and it affects people for the duration of their lives. People be gone, and the individuals that were subject to that, are left here to still deal with that. And it impacts how they interact and do things moving forward too. So while it wasn't necessarily something that I vocalized, right, as far as like I would never put my hands on my wife, right, but definitely something off the table, because I am intimately familiar with how that affects the relationship. You know what I mean? The woman, the kids, and everybody involved. So definitely.
I gotta think too, and I was just talking about this with baby girl about this same topic. Like, what do you tell your sons? This is the question. Like, so what would you tell your sons if they're in a relationship with an individual young lady, right? And she well off and hit him a couple times, bam, bam. What do you tell him to do in that situation? Because I got some very strong thoughts on that. I want to get y'all thoughts on, he's in a relationship, girlfriend, fiance, wife, whatever, and she wails off and hit him with a 2-piece and a biscuit, right? Can't hit her back. What do you tell him?
Relationship is done. The relationship is done. Unless you want to sit around and I'm gonna keep it real. Like, the relationship is done. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's as a man, not all of us have us, right? Like friends like us. But like, if I'm upset, or if I want to vent, I can hit y'all up. You know what I mean? But as a man, when you get your woman, your wife, your girlfriend, that's who you could be vulnerable around. That's who you can like lean on when times is tough. That's who, like, when you're mad, your girl could be like, all right, baby, laying on me. I'm gonna sit right here and listen to everything you gotta say. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that, and you trust that. But like, to trust, but then for her to be able to put her hands on you as a man, where's her where is her emotional intelligence really at, right? So if the relationship's not done, I'm questioning it, and I'm telling my sons, like, yo, you either got to question that, or and take some time away, or just be done. You know what I mean? Because you're not safe at that point. You know what I mean? Like, because I'm telling my sons, I'm not putting my hands on women at all. Like, I'm not doing it. You know what I mean? I'm telling you, do not put your hands on women. Period. Point blank. So you being taught that emotional intelligence, who taught her hers?
That's a good point. Good point.
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say on that. Like, really, it's cut. This is cut and dry with me. Like, it's like, don't put your hands on nobody. You know what I mean? You ain't got no damn emotional intelligence. All right, cool. I'm out. I'm cool. I'm out of here.
Yeah, Trey, what are your thoughts? Same thing?
Yeah, no, I agree. You know what I'm real big on, especially with the boys, is I'm real big on examples. So what I'll do is, like, even for instance, when it comes to, the type of careers they want to have, and I'm very open in saying, no, I don't think this is a good career based off of this is how much a person makes, this is the type of job it is. I'm real big on examples. So if something like that were to happen, we all know kids gonna do that. They're gonna make their own decisions at the end of the day, right? But I'm with you, Earl, I'm gonna let them know you need to get away from this person today, not tomorrow, not think about it. No. It's plenty of other stable people and women in this world that you can be with. But for me, it's almost like I know you're gonna make your own decision, but I'm gonna show you an example of what can happen if you react to that, because you're only gonna take so much. No one's just gonna continue to just let someone just beat them down without reacting. And as soon as you react, whether you did something physical or not, you can still it can still hurt you, you know, for life, right? Because all it takes is for that person to say you did something, and it can tarnish a reputation, right? So I'm real big on showing those examples of, okay, this is what happens if you do react. If you do hit her back, this is what can happen. It can ruin your life. You can go to jail. All these things can happen. Or let's say, for instance, she said that you did do something and you didn't do it, and you know you didn't do it. Well, the newspaper think you did it. Millions of people think you did it, and you still have the opportunity of going to jail just for that night because they think you did it until you prove it innocent. So I will show more so of those examples on what can happen if you do react. So I advise you, son, I haven't steered you wrong. I don't lie to you. At the end of the day, you need to run away as fast as possible. This isn't the woman for you.
Yeah. I'm tooting the same tune. Like I feel like I don't care at what stage in the relationship it gets to, if it's, you know, new baby love, puppy love, and, you know, or if it's, you know, girlfriend for 5 years, or, you know, fiance, wife. If it gets to a point to where your wife wails up and she you know, and she putting her hands on you, that is the immediate end of that relationship, because I can no longer, like to Earl's point, I can no longer feel safe in that space, because again, there's only so much a person's going to be able to take. And they're, like you said, you're one instance away from being a sane person to a person that's lost their cool. So I wouldn't even sit in that situation. Like, I go get me a hotel and we'll go ahead and divide everything how we need to divide it. You know, we work out the visitation rights and we'll figure this thing out and keep it moving. But I'm not stepping foot back in that house. Right? Like I got to be able to protect myself, because, you know, the deck is going to be stacked against you, because it's hearsay, it's word of mouth, you know, protect her type scenario. So I got to protect myself. I got to protect my son. So if my sons were ever in a situation like that, it's call me immediately. I'll call your mother immediately and leave. Take your phone, your wallet, your laptop, leave the clothes. You don't need to pack anything. Just leave. And we'll figure everything out, you know, tomorrow morning or whatever. Like, don't even put yourself in a situation where you went back and nothing. Just leave, and then go from there.
Yeah,
So,
cut and dry.
Oh yeah,
very cut and dry. All right, cool. We at 10 o'clock, fellas. 10 o'clock.
Yep.
We got a couple
Time to
more
go to bed.
I don't want to call it quits.
Time to go to bed.
I gotta get this workout in, my boy.
Shoot, I was gonna work out later today too, but I got
What's later today? It's 10
Well, you got 2 hours left in the
It's
day.
10
You got 2
o'clock.
hours left.
It is later today now. There's no later today. It's
Tomorrow.
Say what?
Later today.
Oh, I gotta get it in. I'm not gonna I'm gonna beat one of y'all in this upcoming Spartan race. I'm gonna be swole and all that. So I told y'all I was on y'all ass. I meant that, bro.
I haven't agreed to it.
Hey, let's make a pact, man. Since everybody working out, and I ain't been doing nothing but gaining weight, eating cookies over here, man.
Man, those shoulders and arms say something different. You
Hey,
lying.
I gotta
be
get back
lying. Trail be hold on. Let me look. Hold on, because Trail be lying.
But let me tell you though, this is how you know I'm getting swole. When the cheeks get big, that's when I'm getting swole.
He ain't lying though.
Yeah,
he ain't lying.
Hey, it might not go nowhere else. It go here first.
It go there.
He
It
ain't
go
lying,
there
bro.
first.
He ain't lying. He ain't lying.
Yeah.
Been eating good, huh, bro?
Hey man, I've been eating bad.
Because you around, it's football season, and you around all them team snacks.
Everybody birthday, you right? Birthday, cupcakes and all, man.
Yeah,
eating everything.
I understand that. Man.
But I'm with it though, man. I'm glad that you say you're working out, because I mean I think we should. I mean, I ain't gonna lie, I need accountability right now. So You guys working out maybe 3-4 days a week. I need to get back into it, man.
You
I
see,
literally
hey,
did 3
Trail,
days in the gym.
Trail, you already be seeing the watch, bro. You already be seeing the
Yeah.
watch.
I see it. I see it.
I don't wear no watch.
Well, the thing is, on the Apple Watch is I don't know how me and Trail got linked up, but
Yeah.
every time Trail work out, I see
You
it. I'm
get
like,
it.
okay, Trail, you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying, and then he see mine when it pop up, whatever. But I'm so are we going for 2026 the Spartan race?
Oh, I'm just trying to get in shape, man. Like, and then I'll
Right, in
finish this
January.
a little bit later.
Wow.
But I was telling Joe too, man, like, because we got like some surgeries and stuff we got to do for Marley like towards the end of the year. So it probably will be like maybe
February, March.
either that or like early second quarter of 2026. Yeah.
Okay.
That'll be more than enough time, bro.
And
as
long as we don't do the stadium, I'm good. I think.
Hey, look,
I
if we wait until then, I'll be good by then, bro.
Y'all,
ain't doing it.
he's like, I ain't doing it. Listen, I think the next race that is in Florida is the Jacksonville one we did, Trail, in February. I think that's the next one in Florida.
They sent a bunch of text messages today.
Man, they always sending me text messages. Buy these
Yeah.
shoes and sorry, bro.
Okay. So, Spartan, are we doing the sprint? Are we doing the beast? Are we doing the super? Which one y'all
I'm
want
good
to
with
do?
the super. I'm just not doing the stadium.
Yeah, no stadium. As long as it's not a stadium, bro.
As long as it's not the stadium, I'm good.
Yeah, that was too much.
The super is a 10K.
Yeah, that's
man.
what I want.
Hell no.
Yeah.
Hold up, cuz. Wait a minute. Hold on.
Hell no.
We did, right? We did the 10K.
We did the sprint and the 10K.
Yeah.
I'm surprised the stadium was a 5K. I don't understand how that was a 5K.
It was all uphill. That's why.
I bet felt like 20K.
Man.
10K, bro. Oh Lord.
Wait, 10K is how low? How much?
Man,
6 miles. 6.2 miles, 6.3 miles.
With obstacles in between, man. Give me the 5K, bro. I'll do the obstacles. I'll be good for that, bro. You trying to kill it.
So the difference between the super and the sprint is a 5K with 20 obstacles.
Okay.
The super is a 10K with 25 obstacles.
Yeah.
You can do the 10K, bro.
Yeah, it's basically the same.
It's just a little bit more running through the, hill.
Yeah, from one, because it's 5 more obstacles too, so they probably make up that extra whatever in between them obstacles.
Yeah. So it's pretty much the same thing. And then if you're really feeling froggy,
no, stop right there.
They got the one for the kids at the same thing too, right? Because my little jet's gonna want to do it.
Yeah. They got the beast. That's a 21K.
Bro, look, let's get the 10. Let me get the 10 under my belt first. Dog, bro. 21K. Man,
they got we could do the super.
When's the super? When is the super?
You said February.
It's in February. I think February. Let me pull it up. Hold up.
What's the distance between? Here's what I want to know.
It's February 28th, 2026, and that's in
Jacksonville.
It's in Jacksonville.
Yeah, let's do that.
They got
now let me ask this question. Does it say the distance between
each obstacle?
From the
No.
start?
No.
Ain't none of that. You just get the whole thing in there. So you
I'm
might
gonna tell you.
Got all the obstacles.
Oh man. Okay. All right. February.
We're gonna be good, bro.